I'm going to introduce Brooke. You can come up first, Brooke. This is Brooke. She's an incredible inspiration to our industry and runs... you do quite a few restaurants, don't you? Or is it just one at the moment?
Just B at the moment, yeah.
B at the moment, and that's under the Matt Moran Group. Is that right?
Yeah, Pasolato.
Good. And you won an award, Appetite for Excellence, in 2015.
Yes,
for Best
Waiter.
Unbelievable. Waitress or waiter?
Waiter's fine.
Okay, good. Just checking. So, Brooke, I'm going to let you do most of the talking, but obviously these people in the room want to learn more about the hospitality industry and why you love it so much and what got you into it. So let's start with what got you into it.
Yeah, so the week after my 17th birthday, back in Adelaide, that's where I'm from originally, I walked into a restaurant of a family friend of mine and handed in my resume and asked for a job. And they weren't really hiring at the time, but I was kind of persistent enough that said, I was like, well, I think you are. And so I was like, look, I'll run food. I can't do anything else. I'm underage. I know I can't touch liquor. I will just run food for a year. That's all I want to do. I just want a job. It was basically, I was like, I need some money. It's school. I'm going to go out with my friends on the weekends. And I worked at Chianti in Adelaide for a full 12 months just carrying plates. And then, on my the week after my 18th birthday and my year 12 exams, I got elevated into a section that was the most daunting task I'd ever thought I was doing. I was like, no, send me back to the past. I really like the past. Love running food.
You like working with chefs? That much?
No. It was good actually. I think it was, retrospectively now, I think that experience of working a full year in the kitchen actually gave me the best stead to being in a section then, because I had that respect and that relationship with them already, rather than just walking straight in and being like, I want this now. Yeah. I was like, I know that you can do this and I know you can't do that for me, so I'm not even going to ask. I ended up being at Chianti for almost 8 years in Adelaide. Right. Before I got offered a job in Sydney and drove myself across the Hay Plains.
So what was it that sparked your interest in the industry? Obviously you needed to earn money, you said at the beginning, but was there a passion for it?
Absolutely. I was pretty lucky. My parents run restaurants, so I feel like it was kind of in my blood. I left school, started my law commerce degree, was going to be a corporate lawyer, M&A, did my 4 years of study with still working at Chianti casually, and then did my first clerkship and was like, what is this? I don't want to be you at all. I don't want to be one of you at all. And so I was like, okay, cool, that's interesting. I've just spent 4 years and racked up a really interesting HECS debt for something that I now no longer want to do with my life. So kind of had a little bit of a step back, and at the same time, the restaurant manager at Chianti sort of needed to finish up there, and so I sat down with Maria and Frank, the owners, and was like, hey, I know that you're in a little bit of strife at the moment, so I'm happy to step up and host some shifts. And actually no, they approached me and said, hey, can you host a few more shifts and do sort of step up a little bit? And I was like, I can do you one better. I can manage the restaurant for you if you like.
Wow. How old were you then?
I was 22.
That's young.
I think, yeah, I was 22. Did that, and then our som left at one stage, so
sommelier, that's a wine person.
Started writing the wine list there as well. But Maria had started me doing tasks earlier on. I'll never forget my first attempt at writing a roster. She was very, very tricky. She set me upstairs. She's like, hey, this is everyone's availability. Go and plug it into, we used an Excel spreadsheet back in those days. Go and plug in everybody's availability and come down, and then I'll finish off the roster. It's like, yeah, cool, no worries, I've done that. Good with Excel. She's like, okay, we'll go and plug in all of the regular shifts. Everybody's sort of set hours for the week, those ones that have set rosters. So I was like, yeah, cool, I've done that. She's like, we'll go make an attempt at filling in the gaps now, working out when we've got functions and things. Came back downstairs and I was like, yeah, cool, I've done that. She's like, okay, so you've written the roster now, you can do that every week. I was like, okay.
You did such a good job.
But I think that this industry is one of those things that when you love it and you've got that sort of that real sort of, I guess, a bit of a sick passion for it as well. It's kind of a bit weird, but it's just something that I've loved and figured out early on that really enjoyed it. Yeah,
so now you run beer restaurant in Banger. Yep. Tell us about that.
When I moved over to Sydney, it was Nick Hildebrandt at Bentley who offered me my first job over here. And so I started with them as a waiter and som.
Is that where you were working when you won Appetite for Excellence?
It was.
At Bentley, which is a two-hat restaurant?
Yep.
Incredible experience.
It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed my time there. And then after winning the program, Nick then approached me to manage Yolo, his restaurant in Potts Point. And we turned that from a French bistro into a vegetarian and vegan restaurant.
Wow.
In the time that I was there, which was a really interesting process, going through rebranding and dealing with PR companies and all these sorts of things that I never had anything to do with before. And then after about 12 months there, I then had a chat with the Solotel group, and so joined them at the Paddo Inn to start with, then popped over to Chiswick for a little stint there, and then they needed a restaurant manager at B, so I have been there now for about 4 or 5 months.
Right. So, I mean, it's a tough job, and you know, we're not here to glamorise the job, but it's a good job as well because of what you can get out of it. You've got to put a lot in to get out of it. So, tell us about the ups and downs that you've had in your experience, and you've probably wanted to throw it in sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. But it's an incredibly rewarding job. I think working within the teams that we do, and everyone is so passionate about the industry that we're in, there's that real sense of camaraderie and a real sense of belonging in a team. And yeah, you definitely have your good days and your bad days, but I think even your bad days can become good days in the end. Like, I remember walking into a Chiswick on a Sunday lunch and being the only manager on duty and having like 280 covers on the books, and just like staff briefing was, okay, so today we're going down. Like, it's just inevitable. Like, this is going to suck. It's going to really hurt. And like, it is what it is. We've got less staff than we would like, and everyone's going to come in at the same time, and it's going to be horrible. But like, at least we know it. So like, no surprises. Let's just go in and do it. And we nailed it. Like, I think that pep talk for everybody was like, nah, we're going to prove you wrong. We're going to be like awesome at this. Flipped every table, turned it around, guest experience was great, like drinkers into the afternoon, and you turn around and go, yeah, cool, we did it. Didn't hurt nearly as much as I thought it was going to. That was nice. And then, well, that's interesting because it's a bit of responsibility there, but what the hours in the business, how many hours a week would you work? Look, probably 50 odd.
Okay.
50, 55 on an average week.
Yeah.
Most of that in my line of work is spent on the floor, guest facing, which is kind of what I like about the industry as well. I don't want to be stuck in the office, sort of pushing things around and writing rosters and things like that. So. And
was money, in your early day, you needed to earn money. You could have gone and done anything. Is money an important thing in the industry for you? I mean, because a lot of people think, you see all these cooking shows and things like that. There's, you can have a cookbook and all that sort of thing. And in your front of house experience, is money an important part to it for young people coming through? Obviously, everyone needs to earn money.
Yeah, look, I think I definitely think as far as the industry goes, especially even if you're just talking casual labour, it's a really attractive industry because not only are you getting paid, like here in Australia, we get paid quite a good salary and wage and hourly rate.
Yeah.
But the cash tips at the end of the week don't hurt either.
Yeah. And did you travel overseas at all? And work overseas?
I haven't worked overseas, but I had a really great opportunity when the guys at Chianti were opening their small little wine bar next door to travel through Europe with them on a bit of a research trip. So that was great. And I love getting out there and like even trips down to Melbourne, and I spent 2 weeks in New York last year just eating and drinking.
Eating and drinking, wow.
I think that's really interesting. Like, my recommendation to anybody that loves the industry is to not only get as much experience, but also just eat and drink in places, because you see things about service and food and things that you either like or you don't like, but at least it's still a learning experience. Even if it's something that you're sitting in a venue and go, this just doesn't feel right to me, working out what it is, whether it's the lighting or the music, makes you more aware when you are in your own venue then, to be like, cool, that was what annoyed me last time, so I need to make sure that my guests don't feel that same way.
Yeah, sure. And I guess, for young people wanting to come into it, they can start in a slower process. And, when we have people coming into the restaurants, they're always scared about carrying plates or topping wine up. But, I mean, it's all a learning curve in everything you do in front of house, right?
Absolutely. Like, I've seen senior staff drop trays of glasses. I was like...
Do you?
I have done, yeah. I've done that before, dropped plates. It's like, it just happens. But I think it's about learning from those mistakes and creating a team where that's okay. Like, dropping something and knowing that there's going to be someone else that then sweeps in and just helps you pick it all up. It goes, there you go, never happened, it's all done now, bye. So, yeah, like, there are highs and lows in any industry. And
so now you're a restaurant manager. Where do you see yourself in like 5 years? And your boss isn't in the room, so doesn't matter.
Look, I guess I'm still torn in terms of where I go from here. I was like, part of me goes, do I want my own little hole in the wall place to start with? Although it's really nice playing with someone else's money as well. And the Solotel group has such great opportunities in terms of so many offerings and various venues and things like that. So it could just be like a GM role or a couple of different venues within the same group or whatever. So yeah, I'm open to opportunities. I think the biggest thing you can do is just say yes to things and then figure out how to do it later.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good quote. And I think that's the beauty of the industry, isn't it? Especially front of house, that you've got that freedom to learn about wine, to learn about food and things as well, on both sides of it. But taking your career from a waitress or waiter to a GM as you are now. Yeah. Any advice for these guys who are thinking of jumping into our industry?
Yeah, I think just go for it. Like, it's so much fun. Like, once you can find the venue and the style of service that works for you, there's obviously such a diverse range of things. So if it's not one venue and that doesn't seem to be working out, just try another one. Try something really casual or try something super fine dining and just learn as much as you can and ask questions. There's nothing better than a trial shift that comes in and just asks loads of questions, because you know that no matter where their skill set is at, they've got this eagerness to learn, and you can teach people anything in terms of a skill set, how to carry plates, how to pour wine, about various wine regions and things like that. But that passion and that energy that comes from being on the floor, that's something that you can't really teach someone.
And I think you've got all the skills, which is good. Yeah. So that's a little bit of Brooke's story. Any questions from anyone? Generally, everyone goes quiet at this time. But if there's not, we might thank you very much, Brooke, for that.